Go before we start. What have we got here? Our under 15 boys event.
I think this is going to be a ripper.
I think we're going to see now. Like we've seen some good racing anyway,
Yeah,
but
I think
as the day goes on, I think we are going to see some absolutely fantastic racing over the next little while.
That's for sure. So a minute and a half to go. We don't really have too much of an idea who would be leading here. It's really, we've seen pretty much a blanket finish with these guys last time around. I think last time we watched them in the crit, so yeah, it's quite a good number of them on the line. So it looks like, out of the entries, probably everyone's that's registered's turned up on the line. So maybe a few missing, but as it gets later in the afternoon over there on the east coast, so hopefully we'll get going there. Everyone will be up and about. So
we had some nice feedback from one or two riders who have finished, thanking us for the racing today. Thanking Peel Districts. I'm not going to include myself in that. Thanking Peel Districts for the racing today. And there's one very tired Campbell McDowell, according to his father Scott, saying that he's absolutely wasted. And
it was a pretty big ride in that last race,
wasn't it? It was a very big ride. And Paige Squire's mum's jumped on and said thank you for the racing. So very much appreciative of all the comments to Peel District Cycling Club here today. And
looks like the boys are getting their final dressing from the commissaire. He's sitting at the front there.
I'll tell you what, if ever you were going to keep pedalling before the start of a race, riders, this is the one you want to be pedalling for before the start. We're starting to get the pace up. 5 seconds.
They're going to shoot.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Go for it. And here we go. Oh, have a look at that. 10, 8, 9 watts per kilo. My goodness me. That is one big start for an uphill start of a bike race.
And they've all come back down to about the 5 watts per kilo pretty quick.
This is going to be an uncomfortable 3 or 4 minutes for everyone in the field.
Difficult to hold that watts.
Oh, somebody's had a bit of a tech mechanical there by the looks. Slowed down to a freewheeling situation. Looks like somebody's had a technical problem. That's unfortunate. So here we go. So we've got Maddie on the front there, 174 beats per minute, 171 beats per minute now. We've got a very big field of under 15s who started us at the start of the day. And you can see it's just better viewing straight away, this one, isn't it?
It is. It's quite a good group that's kind of stayed together here. So it is early on in the climb, as you see from the last race towards the top. It does go upwards of sort of 7 or 8%.
Yep.
So that'll sort them out. I would have thought probably a group of 4 or 5 over the top, maybe, with quite a big group chasing. So certainly.
So being led by
tough circuit, this one.
Being led by Luke Rickett from the Gold Coast Cycling Club. Of course, I did call him in the last race as well, but then realised it was Luke Rogers. So my apologies to the Rogers family and Luke Rogers for calling him Luke Rickett in the first one just for 2 seconds. But Luke Rickett's in this one from the Gold Coast, and certainly did see Luke race over the summertime in Queensland. A very handy little bike rider. No trouble about that whatsoever. It's just, I haven't disliked what we've seen today so far around Canary Wharf or Borrego Springs, but there is something about this one that just elevates the level of interest, doesn't it? Hey?
Absolutely. We're already up at 6.4 percentage. So yeah, like Clint said, to it 2 laps, so 16.4 Ks. So yeah, it's 400 odd metres of climbing, 460 metres of climbing.
Yeah,
through the clean lap, yeah.
So over 16 Ks. That's a decent amount of climbing in a short distance. So if you're not going up, you're going down. That's pretty much how it's going to be for the race.
And as we've seen with the race previous, the descent off the top of this main climb that we're on now, it is, it comes down, but it kicks up, and it comes down, and it kicks up. It's not like you've got to be on it the whole time all the way down. It's a really good design of a virtual course. I mean, it would be a great design of any course, this one. There's nothing worse than having a climb in a race and then such a descent that everyone comes back straight away after the descent.
Yep.
Yeah, it just totally ruins it for the climbers and so forth. Great for the sprinters, but no good for the bike race or the climbers. So
So getting a bit of a gap there already. There's a few riders that are kind of riding away.
So that's Neil van der Kerk from
Three off the front.
Van der Kerk, not Van der Kerk, Van der Kerk from Mount Gambier Cycling Club there with Luke Rickett. So Mount Gambier and the Gold Coast going off the front together. Then we've got Benjamin Meakin from Ballarat Sebastopol. I love the fact that we have so many different clubs represented here from around Australia. Thank you so much to, first of all, Peel Districts for inviting me along to be a part of this today, and also for putting this on in the first place. But a big thank you to all the clubs who have gone out of their way to support this. This really is a good day out. And I can see, I tell you what, I can see an interstate series for juniors on the horizon with this sort of format.
I think we'd be silly not to, wouldn't we, after what we've seen today? So,
well, do you know what else? Back in the day, back before my time, well, you actually rode in the West Australian version as a 14 to 15-year-old, because Peter and I are a little bit age difference. I'm a few years older. I'm 50. What are you, 40?
38.
You're not 38. So there's 10 years between us, 10, 11 years between us. But I actually ran a schools championship in my 20s when I was working for a company called Healthway that used to run things in WA. And Peter Dawson won the mountain bike race at that event, but it was a schools championship. Now, the schools championships used to be huge in the 70s and 80s. There used to be an Australasian schoolboy championship, and they bring the states together, and that was as well as a national road championship. Cycling Australia, I'm putting it to you right now, there is a big opportunity to go and get the high schools of the land involved in this, and all of the platforms and home trainer companies out there. Well, we do these talent ID scouting things that have been around for many, many years. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we're looking at a talent ID scouting idea right here, where you don't have to be a cyclist to be competing on this at this junior level. All you have to be is the right age and get on and go. And I can see a schools championship, I can see a state championship, I can see a national championship. I can see a way for cycling to find juniors before they either start playing netball, go rowing, or play AFL. There's an opportunity here that I hope our federations can really get hold of. Because, hey, what's the one thing we keep hearing the whinge of? We don't get enough money into the sport. The sport costs this, the sport costs that. We're always looking for a new way, and mass participation is the one thing that everyone keeps talking about. Well, what bigger mass participation are we having than this right now today? 296 people. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my rant. I'll get off that.
This will be the biggest club race ever.
Biggest clubby for Peel. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I think we've had a couple of races up there. I think we had Peel Classic get close to 200 there, or 200 a couple of years back.
Yeah, 220. Yeah.
I'm just going to answer the question to Michael on our feed. If you go back through this feed, Michael, or you go onto the Peel District Cycling Club page, you'll be able to find a start list and results on the Entry Boss page. There's actually a link already printed on there. It's called the Entry Boss one. You just have to flick back through the list. I'm sorry, mate, not to make it any easier for you than that, because we're just watching the vision. I think Clint might be doing one again, so it makes it easier for you. But that's where you can get the start list. And so also you can download the RGT app onto your phone and find this event, the Peel Districts Virtual Tour, and you'll be able to find it all on there as well. Good numbers watching us again today. If you've got anyone who hasn't seen it so far and you want to show it to a club member or show it to some mates, just to show them just a different platform altogether, just give them a yell, get them to have a look. They don't have to look for long, but it'd be nice to share with as many possible as we possibly can. From time to time, we've had anywhere from 100 to 130 odd people looking at any one time, but of course we've had over 2,000 people looking at the screen today, because we've had so many different events, so many different people just watching their kids, watching the people they know. Good vision there, isn't it? Look, there's a little chasing group descending down the white chalk roads of Tuscany. here this afternoon in Bold Ibis.
A couple of boys sort of working pretty hard there at the front with
Bit of a break at the
Neil
front.
and Luke.
There's a
So
bit of a break at the front here.
yeah, so Neil's got his sinking his teeth into a bit of a breakaway there. So he's got about 50 odd metres, 60 metres. So the boys are looking like they're coming back. They're doing probably working well together. And work that app out and see if they can actually get some benefit out of the draft, because obviously I've said it and I'll say it again, the drafting on this RGT format is sensational, and it really makes for some great racing, because you can sit in the wheels and take a bit of a rest and have some recovery, and that obviously helps create a lot harder racing. So,
Yes, very much so.
there's quite a big group back there. It's sort of from about 7th to 12th, is it?
Yeah,
It looks like that
Yeah,
group. So that's
about
quite a
right
big
there.
group chasing. They're still on the climb a little bit there, so they're still going up and chasing those individual riders that are sort of off the front. And nothing
Well,
better
Luke-
than a bit of Italian scenery as well.
It's
to
great.
look at,
I'm
isn't
really
it? So,
enjoying this stage. It's definitely a lot more to look at, the way the riders are being smashed all over the countryside of Tuscany
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Neil doing very nicely. He's got himself about a 50-metre lead in front of Luke Rickett, and Luke is the rider we are watching in the bottom of the screen. He's got Ben Meakin just in behind him. They're both doing about 5 watts per kilo. So Neil's, put the hammer down over the top of this climb. He would have had a look at the course beforehand in our previous race and knows fully well that the descent is one of those that you can stay away on this descent, because there's enough time to recover, and then there's enough time to start climbing again, and then you get to recover again, and you can slowly get yourself back in shape before the final climb. Because you can rest in between. Now the chasing riders, they don't get the opportunity to rest in between because they're chasing. They have to get back on.
Yeah.
So not a bad tactic at this stage. However, still a long way to go. He's got just under 12 kilometres to go, and he's got a couple of very, very tidy boys chasing after him here, and I think they're all going to come back together. They do indeed.
Straight over.
That's right. So I've been watching an advertising on the RGT format, the SEG racing series at the moment for under 23s worldwide. So I haven't actually viewed any of that. I know they're using this. They're going to use this course. Now, if you're familiar with the SEG
Yes,
team, they have fed some serious bike riders into the pro ranks. So yeah, they're a great feeder team, and I would have guessed that those boys will be racing that under 23 race. I'm not sure if any West Aussies or any Aussies and such have actually been in it. So if anyone out there knows anything about that series,
A few good boys have come
let us
from
know.
there.
But yeah,
The young, I'm going to get stuck for a name here. The young sprinter who's riding for Mitchell and Scott now from Queensland.
Caden Groves,
Caden Groves, there
Yep.
you go. Thank you very much.
Alexander Evans.
Yep, but
Yep.
Caden Groves and SEG was promoted at the most recent Road Nationals. We did a junior conference on one of the days of the National Road Championships, which I was lucky enough to be asked to host, with Donna Race Lazinski and SEG Racing were there, and a few other people as well.
Yep.
But we had Caden Groves and Jess Allen
Yep.
and a couple of others there. Sarah, slips name Sarah, I'm going to call her for now. I'm totally losing names here. But a number of riders addressing our juniors and under 19s and so forth, as they found out. But SEG Racing, SEG Racing, was promoted very heavily there about the opportunity moving forward. And obviously Caden Groves has come from that sort of setup as well.
And doing well too. Well, start of the season anyway. He got his first pro win there at Suntel. So it was watched that stage there live. So that was quite a good win from him. And like I said, there's quite a good group of riders that come from that team, and they're doing some good things for cycling in the under 23 ranks, and by the sounds of it, promoting
Very much so.
that stuff with the younger riders as well in the under 19 categories, which is fantastic. So
And before anyone corrects me on the Facebook feed, yes, it was Sarah Gigante who was the other one, with Pat Eddy as well, as part of that little group that were addressing the riders. So my apologies, Sarah, if Sarah ever watches this. I've interviewed Sarah many times last year, because she tends to win everything that you turn up to with a microphone. So this is just down to 10 kilometres to go. on this one. We're still on the chalk roads of our course here in Pienza in the Tuscan Hills, and it's a good little course, this one. It'd be a great little course in the great wide world, but online there's something to look at. We keep flicking back and forth to the riders out on the road. Here's one of the chasing groups, and in the bottom of the screen you can see that's our breakaway. There's a bit of arguing going on. They're not swapping through, as you can see. Just time trialling to the finish at the moment.
That's right.
These riders, and of course, looking at the power output there, well within themselves. No worries at all. It's all going to come down to the big 2 kilometre climb, because it's going to be a tough climb this time around, you would think.
Yeah, that's for sure. This circuit is very traditional Italian circuit for
Right.
under 23 racing.
Right.
Something on the racing scene you'd come across a circuit very similar to this. I've raced on many circuits very similar to this. It'd make for an interesting race with 200 odd riders. The under 23 racing in Italy is really, really strong. I don't know too much about it now. I think it still is as strong, but back when I was racing in the under 23s, some really big hitter pros come from those racing.
Yes.
And if an Aussie ever got up for a top 10 or a top 5, you're going all right. And before that program shut down, the likes of Simon Clark winning races, and then you've got your likes of
most recently Robbie Power doing what he did. My goodness me!
I'd seen that race that Robbie did. Forget the name of the climb, but he absolutely tore them up. So, and that's a very typical sort of Italian type of race. So it ain't going up, you're going down.
Yeah.
Especially in this kind of region, that Tuscan region.
Just over the second lap, guys.
Yep.
On the climb.
On the climb for the second lap.
So Benjamin Meakin is turning the screw at the bottom of the climb straight away, and Luke Rickett and Neil Van Kirk chasing on. So setting a good pace there. I'm going to apologise to Neil again here. Van Niekerk is his name. Van Niekerk. So please win it, Neil. So you force me to pronounce it correctly as the day goes on. You're doing very nicely. Sitting there comfortably in this breakaway group at the moment. There's Luke sitting there at about 180 beats per minute. So all of these boys, they're going to be coming towards the end of their tether as far as how they're going up this climb. Come on, Neil. Hang on there, mate. Going very nicely at the moment. Just got to dig in through this section and come good towards the top. Benjamin Meakin has been going very nicely as well. Neil's back up onto the wheel. Good piece of riding. Luke Rickett from the Gold Coast. And, let's be honest. We've had it here in Western Australia with Michael Storer, Jai Hindley and Robert Power coming through the ranks together. 10 years from now, we could be looking at these three names and they could be riding in the Tour de France.
Absolutely.
It is a reality of the sport.
Yeah, I think we have a great system in Australia for the juniors, especially, personally, I think it's been better. And I take away from the under 23s, and the under 23s were, when that set up with Brian over in Italy was fantastic. Obviously, I've said it before, we don't have that set up now, but there's other ways of getting over to there. And I think the guys that are doing the hard yards, and you look at Jai Hindley, who done the hard yards, he went over there and got in amongst an under 23 Italian team, didn't know a word of the language, and now look at him. So Sun Tour winner,
protected rider in a World Tour team,
one of the biggest World Tour teams.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? So it's and I think with a little bit more of a push, maybe we could get something a little bit better for the juniors coming through, sort of internationally, but nationally they're doing some good stuff, and the juniors are doing. We've got some really talented juniors coming through the system. So
Neil going to the front, starting to turn the pace over the top. They've been dancing around a bit. These boys doing very nicely indeed. I've seen Luke have a go. Ben started at the bottom of the climb, really turning on the pace. Then Luke decided to have a bit of a dig. Now Neil's come to the front, so they're making it tough on each other. They're only about possibly 2/3 of the way up the climb. They've still got the steeper part of the climb to come, so still a very long way to go.
I think, look, judging by the last race, and Campbell sort of went away fairly easy in the end. Well, I shouldn't say easy because he turned himself inside out by the sounds of it, but the move you make on this climb towards the top of this climb, it's not easy, but it's definitely doable to stay away. So
Yep.
I'd expect these boys in the next sort of half a K to really start stamping on the pedals and seeing if they can get a bit of a gap.
Ben Meakin just turning the screw a little bit here. Todd Smith's just come on, giving a big cheer to Luke Rickett, and also giving a cheer for Luke Rickett here, because he's saying obviously it's between Luke Rickett and Benjamin. Whoever finishes first out of those two pretty much win the tour. So
Well, there you go.
bit of a race on between those two guys. Of course, once again, unofficially, because we're watching the live feed, we're not looking at the results. But nice piece of work. Ben and Neil starting to go off the front. Luke Rickett, he's out of shot, but he's still there. Now he's in shot, just sitting on the wheels. Doing very nicely indeed. It certainly is more fun, this one,
That's for sure.
to look at and to call the action of.
Yeah.
And we've got the behind the scenes camera as well, looking at the next sort of 5 to 10 riders on the road. We're focusing on Cadell at the moment in 8th place, and he's got 4th to 7th in front of him as they go up the hill. The stone wall on our left hand side, just to let us know this is where it goes up that little bit steeper. And just looking at the power to weight ratio on the side, and everyone's sitting around 4.5 to 5 watts per kilo there. So the boys really working hard this time. And we've got Benjamin Meakin, he's at 186 beats per minute. So he is well and truly
Working very hard.
at his limit, and Luke Rickett is trying to just turn the screw a little bit there. As Ben's heart rate starting to go up in units of 1 at the moment, which usually means you're right at the end of your heart rate when it goes up 186 to 187, but he's still there, 188 now. So this is tough work. If Ben's got his sound turn on, turn it off. Don't listen to my commentary because I'm talking about your heart rate. Heart rate coming down now. Turn it back on quickly. He's starting to recover over the top of the climb. Doing a nice piece of riding here is Ben Meakin.
And not much of a draft if you see the saving is only 20 odd watts. Okay, we're talking 20 watts. It's a good saving, but in terms of what RGT offer, it's on the low scale, and that's because they're going uphill. It's 4.9% uphill. So it's not too much of a draft at that speed. So doing 20 odd k's an hour. Pretty tough climb, coming to the top of it now, so start the big long descent down.
It's almost over, as they say. This
little
is
pinches, but that's about it for them, and then I'll have that little short sprint on the tiny bit of a climb towards the end there, so for the finish.
So that's what you want there. It's going to come down. There's possibly one other climb on the descent that you could possibly springboard off the front of.
Yeah.
But they all know it's there now. And they know it's not like a springboard in the great outdoors where, you've got the wind coming across you, or, it's more, it's only going to last 150, 180 metres.
Yep.
So on a home trainer, you just dig in that little bit more, get over the top of it, take advantage of the descent going down the other side. What's going to play dividends here is whoever times their run into that last corner the best. We've already seen that. If you time yourself into that last corner and keep the power on, because it's quite simple, you're not going to fall off, are you?
No,
the bike will slow down because the system makes you slow down because it's going into a corner. But if you've got full power on into the corner, guess what? As you come out of the corner, you're going to have full power. And a nice piece of move here from Neil. It looked like he did exactly that, going in around that right-hander. This is the false flat that I was speaking of before. This is the one where you can springboard. See how on the right-hand side of the screen, we don't stop climbing now for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. So real chance to do some damage here.
Benjamin's done well to close the gap there as well, Matt. So he was under the pump. Heart rate's now up around that 190, 191. So he's going to go straight past him. So just letting him know that he's still there.
Just playing with.
So it's fantastic. It's 200 odd watts, and we start to it's a little bit of a downhill or false flat, I guess.
A little bit of a false flat you can see
before
there.
they get that last little kicker. As they can see it out in front of them now, I guess that's a good thing as well. You know it's coming.
It's two things, isn't it? In real life, and even on this, you can see it clearly that it's going to go up. So you one of two ways. If you're slightly within yourself but uncomfortable, you can talk yourself into it. I don't have to suffer too much longer. But if you reach the bottom of that climb and you're at 188, 190 beats, and you're at your absolute limit, you're just going to look at that climb and go, "Oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to hang on over the top of this?"
It's
For sure. It's the peel bot.
The peel bot, just cleaning the road sweeper. So Neil's dropping the hammer again. This is a good piece of riding here
certainly.
from Neil.
It's like Luke's just kind of, maybe he's playing the tactical game.
Might be playing the tactical game. He knows it's between him and Ben knows it's between him and Luke. They probably know that Neil can't really affect them for the overall at this stage. Oh, have a look at this. Ben has just stepped out. Something's happened to Luke. Luke's had a problem with his bike because he's gone down to...
He's not registering anything.
Nothing's registering with Luke. Oh, that's terrible, terrible luck. Luke's got a problem with the bike. We don't know what it is.
Power outage or a bike.
But the system is showing him...
Or a leg cramp.
Losing everything. Maybe he dropped the chain, changing gears.
Yeah.
Possibly. He might have dropped the chain. We've had people with chain problems already. Meanwhile, back to the front, Neil has nearly a 100-metre lead over the top of Benjamin. Luke is now got himself going again, so I'd say he had some sort of a mechanical, because he is going at like 7 watts per kilo and trying to chase with everything he possibly has. But definitely had a bit of a problem.
Gap. It's a long gap back from there, but you never know. A little bit of a downhill.
Got a big chase. Neil, though, he is leading the bike race. Neil van der Kerk from Mount Gambier Cycling Club is leading the bike race. He's got about 125, 130 metres over the top of possibly the virtual tour leader and winner, Benjamin Meakin, chasing out after him. Then we go back to Luke Rickett in third place. As we start to descend, we've got 2.5 kilometres. They'll come to the bottom of this descent very shortly, where it will kick up ever so slightly again. So Neil's going to have to really dig in, because the way Ben was going over the top of these climbs, I think there's a good chance he's going to come back to Neil here as he goes around that right-hander. Now here is the chase. Benjamin Meakin trying to get on to Neil van der Kerk out of the saddle. He's got 70 metres. They're both going at about the same power wattage. Neil a little bit stronger, really trying to hang on over the top of this climb, but this one's going to hurt.
It is, yeah. Look, that's fantastic watts for these riders as
Absolutely.
well. It's like 360 odd watts. That's huge power. Yeah, it looks like Luke's recovered from whatever was the problem. Maybe obviously drop chain or something. I would have thought maybe.
Looks like he's had some sort of
probably changed the gear at
issue.
the wrong sort of pressure, and it's just caused that chain to jump off. But he's back up and running, so he's salvaged his tour, I suppose. If he can't get back on, he's closing the gap though.
He is closing the gap because he was at 600 metres at one point.
Yep.
And now he's back to around about just inside 400 metres off the back of Neil.
Yep.
But only about 250 off the back of Benjamin. Now Neil is hanging on to that lead of his in front of Benjamin. He's not going to be able to take any pressure off those pedals whatsoever. But we look to where the line is. He's in the false flat. It will kick up once more before it descends down. So he's really just got to grit his teeth over this next 200 or 300 metres is all it will be to get over the top of this climb. Then it's all speed all the way down to the main road, where he'll turn right, get back onto the smooth bitumen, but it's only for a couple hundred metres. If you get to that corner, he's home and hose, and he's doing very nicely at the moment.
That's for sure. So probably get out to about 300 metres there now between Luke and Ben. So it's a good little fight for the tour as well, as Neil sort of powers through toward the finish, last sort of K and a bit. So another 30-minute plus
effort on the home trainer today, yeah.
The boys have had a big day, isn't it? I mean, they're only young, under 15s, aren't they? So it's a good amount of time at a really high sort of threshold. So the boys have done really well to get through this and still be fighting it out like they are coming to the line. So
Final kilometre now for Neil Van Niekerk. He's doing very nicely here. He's actually extended his lead because he's gone over the top of the hill, and that lead going out to almost 200 metres now. It stayed around 130 metres in front of Benjamin Meakin. Ben has lost a couple hundred metres to Luke Rickett once Luke got himself going again, but he looks like he's safe for what I think will be the overall GC for this tour. Neil just dropping to the bottom now of what is nearly the end of the chalk dust roads, as we call them, the white chalk roads. As you can see,
good
he's going to
downhill
turn
run.
right very shortly. 113 cadence, stage 3. You can see the bitumen coming up ahead. He'll turn right. He's only got a couple of hundred metres to go now. This has been a good ride by Neil. Well done.
It has. It's been a tough last lap for those three boys at the front. So looks like Luke's going to. He's still putting out 5 watts, but Neil has a big sprint to the finish. 15 watts per kilo.
there from Neil. Well done, Neil. That was superb.
530 odd watts.
Yeah.
So
Here comes Ben. He's going to come across the line in second. Unofficially, I think Ben will be our race winner, tour leader race winner to GC.
Luke approaches that final right-hand bend onto the bitumen before heading off to the finish.
Obviously had something go either wrong with the bike or his feed.
Yeah.
It's very I'd say it was the bike because it was very unfortunate the way it happened.
I think disappointing for
for
him and also for us. I think we would have had a really
I think it would have been a different
huge battle going to the line between those two boys.
I think it might not have been a different result, but it would definitely have been elbow to elbow all the way through.
Yeah, I agree.
So well done to Luke. Here's the rest of our field finishing off their day.
Back through that field, so
Who's next on the road? Big bunch.
quite a few numbers in this category as well. So judging by the way the three boys went, it's going to be spread over quite a distance. So what we got, let's move my head out of the way of the screen. So a couple of hundred metres behind, down in 8th and 9th place.
So Finbar, Ethan, Will, as they come towards they're going to start the descent now. It gives you an idea of how well the other three were going. Because this next group, for 4th place on the road, is quite some distance behind them on time as they look further down the road. Still a long way to go for these riders coming towards the finish. There's still everything to race for. Points on offer. Oh, and a big welcome. I'm going to name drop here. Hello, Sam Welsford. Welcome to the Peel District's cycling tour, which I'm sure you've ridden in the past and possibly won. I would think you can confirm that. I'm sure he must have won this.
Oh, surely.
Surely. He won pretty much everything else with his stubby little wombat legs. But
Or
he's
his
one of the
little mate
fastest bike riders in the world.
Maybe his little mate Theo got over top of him.
Theo might have rolled him.
Theo.
Well, Theo's a little bit older though, wasn't he?
Is he?
Theo's older.
Yeah.
Theo's more the Bradley Limfield age group.
He
So Welsford
must
was...
have heard us talking about him. That's
I'll
why
tell you
he's tuned
who
in.
Welsford used to race against. Matty Jackson.
Yep.
And Alex Rendell and Reece Tucknott. They were, and Jai Henley was in that sort of era as well.
Should have known that.
Should have
I
known
went
that.
away to the state titles.
Didn't you take them away?
Possibly.
Didn't you assist them
Assisted there.
with some of their national championships? Well, anyway, welcome, Sammy. Great to see your name pop up on the Peel District Cycling Club virtual tour. As we see the riders finishing off very nicely indeed.
Solid 30-minute effort.
Exactly right. So just another one of the platforms. This is RGT, and like you know, we're used to other names like Zwift, which is an excellent platform, probably the most popular platform in the world these days. But then there's Full Gas, and we've seen a number of different ones floating around the place. This is the one that Cycling Australia has been lucky enough to use for the Junior Series. Of course, Zwift is used for the Cycling Australia Elite Series, and both do excellent work. But this is obviously a new one that I've not seen before. This looks very impressive. very impressive indeed, and we've seen some great racing on it today.
I think the graphics, Matt, sort of stand out. It's sensational. And the views, the change of the views that we can get. That Clint's obviously helping us with here, and being able to watch not only the front of the bike race but the chases as well, and even further back from that. So in terms of viewer usability, it's really, really great for the viewer. So and that's what this is all about, isn't it? So we need to be able to showcase all of our juniors that are racing. So that's a great possibility for that. So
that's my weight advantage.
Our Peel District's bot just patting themselves on the back about how well they're going here. So Lucas coming to the finish now to finish off what's been a long day of racing for our under 15s.
We'll leave it there.
And that will be the end of our under 15 coverage just for now. Our next race is going to start, and it will be our under 17. What are we watching? We're going to be following the under 17 women over the 24 kilometres. They start